Alrighty. Thanks so much, everyone, for making it out tonight. This is our third installment of Decentralize Colorado. For those of you who haven't shown up before, we've been doing this for about 3 months, and our goal is kind of to have a low-key hour-and-a-half time that's kind of platform agnostic, filled with about 10-minute lightning talks and a little Q&A.
Everything's going.
So it's providing a platform
it's going right now. It's
for blockchain applications that usually haven't been in the spotlight up until this point, giving those applications a little moment in the spotlight. If Davey is around, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, cool. So big thanks to our sponsor, which happens to be my employer, KJ Technical. We are a small boutique recruiting firm specializing in blockchain and cryptocurrency. We like to pride ourselves in being kind of the exception to the norm. I don't know how many of you are developers here who've been scammed to death by recruiting firms. We like to provide a personal touch to the recruiting process and really be involved in our local community here. So, Kayla's gonna, where did you appear at? And so, we are also the first event to take place in this space. They actually got their permit 2 weeks ago. This is a great collaborative. I actually have a desk here and have really enjoyed it so far. And I'll have Kayla here, the events manager, here provide a little plug for them.
Hey guys, not to take much of your time, but this is Grid Collaborative Workspace. We are a new co-working and office space here in Denver. We did just open the bottom floor 2 weeks ago, so there's lots of space that needs to be filled. So if you have any questions on office space, co-working memberships, or event space to rent out this stadium or any of our upper floors, please ask me. I will be here all night. And yeah.
Thank you very much. Will, do you want to say something here?
Yes, I do.
Alrighty. And so anyways, this is Will Carter. He's the other co-organizer of this startup. And he has a little something to say.
Yes. Thank you, Trevor. Just a quick, just a little bit about me and about what we're going to do today. Let's talk about what we're going to do. This is lightning talks. Trevor gave a little intro, basically 10 minutes each, 2 to 3 minutes for questions. I'd like to open it up at the beginning. Does anyone have any announcements that they'd like to say? We could pass the mic around for a meetup, hackathon, job, anything. I always like to do that. So if you have anything you want to say, please do.
Awesome. My name is Brandon Hughes. I'm with EOS Denver Meetup, and just want to let you know that June 1st we're going to have an event at a pretty nice spot. So if you want to look us up, it's going to be inside the venue, and we'll have free beer. So basically, that's right prior to the main launch for EOS on June 2nd, so Friday. And then Saturday, 3:59 Mountain Time, that's when EOS mainnet goes live. So, yeah, come on out if you'd like to.
Hey guys, I'm Nick with KJ Technical, work with Trev, and we're pretty much always looking for blockchain engineers or people interested. So hit me up or hit Trev up.
We're probably going to go to Austin this weekend for the Hollow Chain Hackathon. It's got really cool technology they're offering that. 10,000 US accounts. A lot of new energy going in this space. It's great. It's a ton of creativity. And then if anybody's interested in hacking a local memory solution, we can if we want to. Yeah, I mean, there's potential to do business that can serve local memory, super fast, and cloud conferences and make internet work there. If you're interested.
Hi, I'm Elena. I'm with the Denver Crypto Party. We have meetups the first and third Tuesday of every month. So come out and join us. The next one will be in June. We're on Meetup, so just search for Denver Crypto Party. Thanks.
Hey everybody, I'm Dan, and I host a meetup on Thursdays, and we're at Worldwide Tech. We're Denver Bitcoin and Crypto, so we'd love to have you guys. I know our next session is going to be a breakout style session. It's fun and interactive, and we get some really interesting topics covered all over this. So I really encourage you to come and join us.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. The first presenter we have up is Hunt, and he is from Discon.io. Do you have a laptop? Do you have a laptop?
Yes, please.
Hi everybody, my name is Hunt Fry, and first want to say thanks to Will and Trevor and Grid for hosting this, and I also think it's wonderful to hear how many of you guys are putting together meetups and different events, because there can't be enough of those. It's wonderful to see everybody getting everybody together to try to push mass adoption of this space. So I'm here to talk about an event I'm putting on titled Discon, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency digital assets conference that's taking place in Boulder on August 3rd and 4th this summer at the Boulder Theater in the E-Town, which are going to be 2 blocks from each other with different tracks for different skill levels going on. And yeah, I'm appreciate everybody giving the time, and definitely glad we got free beer, so loosen everybody up before my talk. So I want to start out with a little question. How many of you guys have attended a conference in this space? Raise your hand. I know Ari has. Ari's at different conferences every weekend, I look. So I've attended a bunch of different conferences all over the country and actually internationally, and some of which I have left extremely excited about the future and what people are building on, and thrilled to meet some unbelievable people, and some of which I won't name names I've left a little bit less excited. It's all about the moon and the Lambo and pitching your ICO, and I left a little bit disheartened that these people were only in this space to get rich and we're kind of forgetting about the technology. So I wanted to put together the type of event that I would want to attend, which is focusing on the technology. There's a lot of investments. I invest. I know a lot of people do, but it's really the technology that's going to get us to this next level. And so my partner and I met at DevCon, Ethereum's DevCon in Mexico, and we talked about putting together an event in Boulder. We haven't seen a conference in Boulder that is coin agnostic. There's a lot of great events out here that just focus on one coin, which is great, and a lot of hackathons, but we want to focus on all different types of technology. There's some coins that I'm not even the biggest fan of that I would love to have come speak. And so our conference is going to be focused on that. And we want to focus on the laws a lot. We have a lot of people coming to speak who were very instrumental in the laws in Wyoming and also Colorado, because what the laws and the current state of that is right now will be completely different by the time August 3rd and 4th comes around. So our event is a place for what I assume are a lot of people like us to come hang out and talk about the different up-to-date technologies that are going on, and also there's a lot of culture in this space that I don't believe is being tapped into. I've been to a lot of these conferences, and you're by an airport in the conference center, and there's not enough user experience. So I think it's a great situation to get everybody together and allow them to learn a ton during the day, where you're going to walk away hopefully knowing more than you came in, and then spend the night going to see art exhibits, going to see concerts that we're having set up, and really get a chance to enjoy it. I've been to some conferences where you're learning all day, and then you go to an event and there is an ICO pitching you, and your head hurts almost by the end of that day. So one night we're having a documentary filming where we're going to screen about 6 short different documentaries at the Boulder Theater. One day we're going to have a surprise concert, just to kind of give everybody a chance to let loose and hang out. And we really feel that there's a lot of conferences out there. There's a lot of great ones, but there's some that are extremely expensive and they kind of exclude people and they're a little bit tech elite. I think consensus was $2,000 or $3,000 in New York, and you know, our business is a business and we do have to charge for a ticket. It's unfortunately not free, but our tickets are $250 for 2 days. And we also have a program where if anybody in here or anybody who wants to go can't afford that, they can email us and say, hey, I'm a college student and I'm really passionate about the blockchain, but $250 is way too much for me. And we're going to grant a bunch of free tickets to people who are deserving but can't afford it. We're also going to involve some charities in our event, which we're going to do one local charity, which is Boulder KGNU, and then we're going to do a tech charity where we sponsor a young developer who can't afford to take the classes and, you know, get the training to become a developer. So we feel really strongly about giving back to you know, this whole community. And something that we want to do in the decentralized nature of this whole space is year 2, if you attend our event, we're going to have a lot of voting open to who we have speak next year, all the way down to the food, the times, the weekend, when it takes place. We really want to hear from the community. And another point on that is we're leaving 25% of our spots open for call for papers. So if you have a topic that you feel is really important and interesting, there's a call for papers on our website, which is discon.io, and you can submit your research, and we're saving a lot of those slots to have, you know, we want to know what our community wants to hear about. So let's see what else we got here. I think that's for the most part. I know I haven't taken up the full 10 minutes, but if anybody has any questions about the event, I would love to hear. Ari? So spreading the good word about the event. We really want to do this for the right reasons and kind of get people out there and encourage, you know, community and networking and a way for everybody to leave knowing a little bit more than they came in with and organize their own community. So if you would spread if you would just give us a like on Facebook, if you would just, you know, share some of our tweets, that would be the most we can ask. If you can invite your friends to our Facebook event, that would be wonderful. Yeah, I'll definitely provide a link to discon.io on our meetup, and anybody who's interested, please come check it out. Duke, did you have a question? I couldn't hear you, Duke, sorry. Are our speakers paid? Yes, we feel strongly that our speakers provide value to our event, and we pay them depending on, you know, if somebody's traveling in from Greece, they're probably going to get a little bit more to cover their expenses. There's some people in this space who we've talked to who have a lot of passion for charity, and they've said, you know what, I don't want to pay, I'm local, but could you give, you know, whatever you're going to pay me to this charity, and we're happy to do that. We feel strongly about, you know, not making this a cash grab. This is a long-term event, and there's a lot of, our motto in this event is beyond the hype. There's a lot of hype in this space that has kind of colluded things with investments and stuff, and we want to get past the hype and focus on the technology that really is going to make our world a more efficient and fair place. And so we're hoping to get past the hype and really focus on, you know, the tech.
I'm wondering, do you have all slots now for people you want to speak, or is that still open and do you need help?
So we're always open. I want to hear from anybody and everybody. If there's a speaker that you think would really interest you and excite you, I'll be here hanging out after. I would love to talk to everybody. I would say, just to be 100% transparent, about 50% of our spots are booked, 25% are saved for call for papers, and we are, you know, just kind of slowly but surely filling those last few spots. Some of the bigger speakers don't like to confirm till like a month out. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate you taking the time to listen. Well, I heard it was Trevor's DJ project, actually. We can't announce that yet, so I'll have to keep it a surprise till we get there.
Okay.
All right, so we'll take a moment to transition.
And is that TV? Can I stand up there so I can?
Sure, yeah.
Looked over pretty quickly and you set it up, didn't it?
Yeah. I'm going to move this over.
So as Brandon said earlier, he is the founder of the EOS, and it's kind of perfect timing with
Yeah.
mainnet launch coming up here in a couple weeks. I think anticipation is through the roof, and Brandon has done a great job in kind of quantifying some of that hype, and bringing some substance to vaporware versus
Try to.
EOS maximalist debate.
Okay, so now it's not working. So, got this plugged in. So it's on. That's plugged in. The light's on. There we go. All right. All right, there we go. All right, so again, my name is Brandon Hughes. I'm with EOS Denver Meetup. So I started this, I actually come from the finance background, so I just was trying to find out more of the technical developer side. I was asking on our internal boards essentially the question, what am I missing? So I kept looking at a variety of different coins, and I kept coming back to this one after I saw a talk with Dan Larimer, and I started to dig deeper into it. So I'll just start with gratitude and disclosures. I don't work for Block One. I am not affiliated with anyone that's actually developing EOS. This is a personal interest. Trust but verify, so I come from the Springs. So a lot of military down there, so do your own research. Trust but verify is always what comes back to me. So I'm just essentially aggregating and trying to disseminate information that I've gathered through my own personal research. I'm not a independent developer or content creator. So again, this is just personal interest, so do your own research. But with that, so a little bit about myself. I'll go quickly with this because I only have 10 minutes. I have, again, coming from the finance background, a $500 million book. I was a former interest rate trader on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and co-founder at EOS Denver. So a little bit about EOS. So what drew me into it initially was Dan Larimer. So from a financial background, when you're researching investments, whether it's an individual stock or a mutual fund, you're always looking at active management. Who's the manager behind the project or the investment? So when I started to look into Dan Larimer and looking at his previous work, I'm sure everyone here is familiar with Steemit, then also BitShares. So when I started to get into this project, everyone was calling it a scam, and the way that the white paper is very ambiguous. But looking at what his previous work was, it was very compelling to see that, well, if he's done this in the past, it stands to reason that most likely he will continue that work, especially when you hear his interviews, and it seems that he's coming from a genuine place of trying to do good with his time on the earth. So then also Brendan Bloomer, serial entrepreneur since 15. But CTO is Dan Larimer. That's what drew me in. So what is EOS? EOS, however you want to pronounce it. It's a platform. So I could give you the technical definition, but the entire idea is it seems that there's this race towards the third wave of blockchain technology that can actually meet scalability. So if you have potentially billions of users at some point in the future, or at least billions of transactions that are going on every single second, you're going to need something that's going to be able to scale to that need. So meeting enterprise need for every single type of human transaction. So it's a platform. So what are the use cases? So if once the mainnet goes live, which is again June 2nd at 3:59 Mountain Time, what is this supposed to support? So again, thinking outside of just simply, it could be security token protocol, it could be a string of asset ownership, and that could be in real estate, that could be securities, it could be smart contracts, governance, voting, charitable giving. So you just think about human transactions, it could disintermediate a multitude of different segments. So the idea, I know that there's been this back and forth, which has been great with Vitalik behind Ethereum, talking about how do you create a blockchain that's governed. How do you further distribute the system, decentralize that system? So it's going to be 21 block producers. So again, not knowing where everyone is with knowing about this project, there's 121 total, so 100 backup. And there's some back and forth in terms of how they're going to be compensated, but most of the compensation goes to the top 21. And the idea is to have it distributed amongst multiple different jurisdictions around the world, and most of the test nets that you're seeing right now have, outside of Antarctica, in nodes on every single continent. So scalability. So this is blocktivity. Not sure if everyone's familiar with this, but it just measures the actual on-chain transactions that are live on the blockchain. So if you look, depending on the day, and this is actually stale dated, so I need to update this, but if you look, about 60 to 70% of live transactions on the blockchain can be attributed to Dan Larimer's previous work. So again, that's where, when I look at it from that idea, that argument of it's a scam, it's vaporware, looking at his previous work, it is through the delegated proof of stake, something that has been vetted in the marketplace and has performed very well without maxing out, which is the meter on the right side, green, yellow, red, of the network capacity. Typically that's under 1%. Whereas at least what I saw, and again, I'm open to criticism and trying to find out what am I missing, because that's the question that I started with. I value all the opinions of the community, and I'm looking to poke holes in my thinking so that I can learn from everyone and further my path within the space. So that's again my intent going forward. But when I looked at this, especially after having seen what happened in December, was you had 250,000 transactions in Bitcoin that people couldn't get in or out. And so it revealed to the marketplace that there was an issue with scalability. If you actually have a lot of participants coming in, are you going to be able to scale those transactions? So you've also seen that. CryptoKitties is probably the most wide known in terms of Ethereum. So I know that they're trying to, with Casper, sharding, some of these things, move it over from a proof of work to a delegated proof of stake model. And I think that is forthcoming, but I'll talk to that in a little bit. So scalability, one of the key features that they're trying to go after. This is from the Dawn 4.0 release, or 3.0. They've updated a couple times. So worst case, 1,000 transactions per second. Average case, 3,000. And then they're talking about, in the next couple of years, millions. So as the network gets built out, that's when you're starting through multi-threaded, built-out network that you're going to have the ability to have millions of transactions per second. So one of the other key features that I find very interesting is you've seen Dan Larimer in the Telegram channels talk about how with BTC, you could essentially run BTC on the EOS blockchain. So there's your solution to scalability. You also have the ability to have any Ethereum dApp sandboxed, built or migrated over to the EOS blockchain. So if it's a dApp that has already a well-developed community but just needs a scalability solution, then you can do that. So yeah, interoperability, that is, as they call it, the holy grail of blockchain. So again, these are just some of the Telegram snapshots of talking about running BTC on EOS. And then anything, and this is him saying that it could be ported within a week. That's him porting it. He's talked about that it might be a couple weeks to a month for getting it over to the EOS blockchain. So it also has a constitution governance. So I spoke about this a couple weeks back in terms of when the blockchain launches. So the Genesis block will be from selected BPs. Then there will be 21 that are voted in, along with the remaining 100 backup. And as a part of that launch process, there will be a constitution that the community agrees upon and then adopts. So they will have an arbitration fund that will be funded through the inflation that will be annual. And then there's also talk that through the 1% fee on RAM trading in 4.0, which is just recently announced for basically RAM trading speculation, that might also fund that arbitration for any disputes on chain. So it will have a constitution and governance model. Oh, and then account recovery. So I can't go back, but it will have account and password recovery. So I have 3 kids, and so when I was trying to think about how to explain this in terms of what I found interesting and when it really clicked for me in terms of network adoption is what drives network value. So the more people using it drives up the value of the overall network. And my daughter came home and she had just gone through the condensation, evaporation, spiel of the water cycle. And so what I dubbed this as is the virtuous adoption value cycle. So you have the EOS token once it goes live. Right now it's just the ERC20. Part of that mainnet launch is that swap. So I can speak offline about that if you want. But you have the EOS token. The best analogy that I've heard is digital real estate. So you hold a piece of that overall operational bandwidth of the network. And so dApp developers will need to either lease or purchase tokens. Well, then you also have through the ICO that's a year long, Block 1 has accumulated a ton of Ethereum, and they've sold off, at least rumored, large amounts of that to create liquidity. And they've pledged, at least for right now, $1 billion of, where am I on time? 18 seconds, oh, whoops. So essentially, you're going to have $1 billion of their war chest that they're going to draw in town and build up the network and draw people in, which then further, you're going to get airdrops of any investment through their VC fund, which drives further adoption, which drives up token price, and then your ability to lease those tokens. So, yeah, I guess I'm up on 10 minutes. That went quick.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Anybody have any questions for Brandon?
Yeah.
So you were saying, then you give me, I don't know much about EOS, but
Yeah.
porting basically anything into it, for instance Bitcoin, what's the advantage there to bringing Bitcoin onto your network?
Well, so going back to scalability. So if you have on the existing solution set, again, not being technically minded, I can't get into the details. I've just seen that, at least reports in terms of the technical write-ups of the viability of like Lightning Network and some of these to scale to the level if you have mass adoption around the world. So if you're then able to run that BTC network on the EOS blockchain, then you have the ability to scale. I'm sorry?
Moving the blockchain onto that network, and now everyone has.
Correct.
So it's like copying, pasting, but then you have to have the user base who's going to operate this via Bitcoin, right? On EOS. Yeah. And then is it also a proof of work algorithm?
No. Delegated proof of stake.
So it really wouldn't be something like Bitcoin, but just call it.
So again, coming from conceptual, not being able to talk to the technical, they've talked about sandboxing. So I don't know exactly how that works.
I was going to say, it seems specifically like with the sandboxing, that might have been for Ethereum. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, the context that I've heard about sandboxing is Ethereum specific. So I've just seen that in the Telegram channels. I don't know exactly how that works.
I'm
But-
sure some of the tech guys can fill me in offline.
But yeah, any other questions? Duke?
For the no transaction fees, what they're doing is hiding inflation in the future.
So there is inflation every year. So there is new tokens, community decided. And the last I saw, because I spent about 3 weeks absorbed in the Telegram channels, but then couldn't take looking at my screen any longer, they were batting back and forth different ideas for how to fund BPs. And I think part of that, again, I haven't stayed current since the RAM trading, the 1% fee for speculation or hedging, because again, I come from Eurodollar trading, so there's always speculators and hedgers when you have a commodity. And so part of that might pay the block producers with that, because conflict of interest, one of the things that was, that there was objections was having the block producers decide their own compensation. So that didn't feel too right. So I know there's ongoing discussion about that.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah.
Where is the Block One company based at?
So if you look online, Cayman Islands. But exactly where it is, I can't speak to that. Again, I'm not a part of Block One, just an interested party. So Dan is in Virginia. So I know that he has a team out in Virginia, and then I know that there's some people in Denver. But if you look of where their news releases come from, Cayman Islands, typically, on Medium or Steeman.
All right, let's give it up for Brandon.
Thank you. Yeah.
I, for one, am extremely interested to see how the next 6 months go. US. Okay, up next, from Keith Denver Hackathon took place in something that is still sending ripples through the space to this date, and I believe we had a couple games. We actually had a couple speakers who built out projects at the hackathon, and Steven is the latest in speaking this.
That's right.
So he built a game called
Angel Battles.
Angel Battles.
That's right.
Where you can collect angels.
That's correct. Go. So I'm Steven, by the way, and I'm the actual developer of Angel Battles. They don't normally send us out here to do this, so bear with me. We're actually breaking my anonymity to speak to you this way, so don't tell anybody you actually met me. So actually, I kind of wanted to do more of an interactive thing with you guys, because when I leave this, you guys will be like, what? I don't even know who was here, kind of thing. So the thing is, like, who all has a phone? Probably everybody, right? So if you want to break it out, and then who actually has like a Trust Wallet or Cipher browser downloaded on their phone? 1, 2. So this is actually quite an interesting thing. This is what kind of like what we're finding actually in the space of Ethereum is when I was at a big conference and like 400 some people, I said, do you know what cryptocurrency is? They're like, deer in the headlights. And I said, do you know what Bitcoin is? They're like, never heard of it. So it's actually kind of refreshing to kind of speak to you guys here at a very focused kind of conference here. But what you want to do though is if you go through like your iPhone or your Android, what you want to do is go to your Play Store or your iTunes, whatever, and you want to download Trust Wallet. Victor Van Trinkoff will thank me for promoting his product. It's not mine. But what that is actually, it's in a browser that will allow you to interact with the blockchain. Right now, there's a thing called a W3JS file that is kind of like required to actually interact with the blockchain. So when you download the Trust Wallet or the Cipher browser, what it will do is it'll ask you to set up basically, like 20, there'll be like 20 different like passphrases that you can do there. And then make sure you don't lose those. It's kind of like Bitcoin. If you lose your personal like private key, then you'll basically lose all your Ethereum that you load into that. But when you do get that downloaded and you get all your keys set up and your password and all that stuff, make sure you send that to me. But like the thing is, like what you want to do is you go in there and you'll click on this thing called the D apps, and it'll be on the main thing on the browse. And if you scroll down to games, there'll be a thing over there called Angel Battles, right there. And it'll probably be like the 4th one down. And you just want to click on that one, okay? And so what you'll see once you kind of get that going and you load up all of your Ether, however you do that, you'll see this game here called Angel Battles. And if you've heard of, I'm pretty sure, CryptoKitties, we are kind of similar to CryptoKitties, but not. So we are an ERC 721 coin, different from the ERC 20 coin, if you do know the differences between that. The ERC 721 coin allows you basically to have a unique coin. So like a CryptoKitty, the kitty has different colors of like eyes and bodies and stuff like that. That allows you to basically specifically determine for this particular coin, it has a certain traits and attributes, okay? So what we've created is basically angels, okay? So what these are basically limited in quantity, okay? And each one of these coins basically have like, some have been sold out, but like let's just take, oh, I don't have internet. If you click on one of those cards when you see it, like Michael, he's got one here. Michael's probably one of the strongest cards we have, but they're limited in quantity. Yeah, so they're his is one of our most expensive cards, 0.8. And then we have Luther, which is 0.666 ether. But the ones that are down below, they actually have like a lot more actual, what's it called, battle power and aura. So the game is kind of similar to Magic the Gathering, if you've ever seen that. Or if you play that, there's a lot of strategy that kind of goes into this game as well. So you have like breeding. So once you kind of battle your angels, you can get like different types of pets. You can basically go in there and you battle against different types of monsters, and then you go out there and you get different types of angels that you can build up on the teams. Some of the other things that we have here are these things called sponsored battles. So other things like EOS and other things that want to like actually promote their product. Because I know marketing is kind of hard here in the crypto space. We offer basically you allow you to like for whatever amount, like maybe 0.01 ether to 1 ether, you can go out there and people will actually battle and try to get their basically battle their way up on the scoreboard, and then they can basically win that ether based on first, second, third, or fourth prize. So it's kind of a really easy way to win ether this way too. So we have free cards. So we have a lot of battles that are like 0.01 ether that allow you to win this free stuff like that. The reason why I think that separates us from a lot of other type of crypto kitties and stuff like that, and I like a lot of different like coins as an investment. There's actually like a secondary market once this kind of becomes much more popular and busy, is you have the ability to control your asset. So say for example you buy the Michael card, for X number of ether. When you go and train this card, basically you do more battles, you do more, you get stronger experience after you do more fights and stuff like that. Your card essentially becomes more valuable this way. When you buy a CryptoKitty, it's essentially, you just have a card and you hope that you got like a Gen 0. It kind of goes down in value. This one is the hope that once you battle it, and there's actually a lot of players who actually keep building their stuff up. Their experience is like actually like 320, a lot of experience. And like if they were to go to sell that card, it's kind of worth more than they bought it for. Some of them that bought it for like $2 or something like that, their card on the aftermarket would be worth a lot more that way. So this, if you think about it, it is kind of like gold in the way that there's a limited in quantity, like no other cards could ever be built out. And you basically, by how often you train, battle, win these things, you can build up the experience this way. We do have a new thing coming out pretty soon. It's called battle boards. So this is actually, we would be like one of the first DApps that would actually have the gameplay solely on the decentralized network, where you can play kind of like it's kind of similar to chess this way. So you have players from around the world who put their team in there, and then other players put their team in, and then you can battle against these other players kind of on a strategy chess kind of board this way. And of course there goes in like what their aura is and all these other things kind of take into play as to like what the strategies. And there's different monsters and they kind of attack you different ways. So it's kind of a different way to do it. I think from what we've seen, a majority of our base is actually kind of, I would say maybe 60% are doing it as like an investment, and then the other 40% are basically doing it as kind of more of a game. So when we built this out, we wanted to build something that was something that was fun to play. Because if you go out there and see all the DApps, and there are DApps coming out every day, then a lot of them are actually just kind of more Ponzi schemey. They go out there and they kind of just, a lot of people probably have played them and they kind of know about them, but we wanted to build a game that actually was probably more fun to play. So that's kind of what we did. There's a different kind of, if you go on there and you play it, there's an exchange called the Project Wyvern. And that's kind of like, they basically like Rarebits or these other exchanges where you can sell your card. That's the one that we've basically integrated with ours, and then you can sell these cards back, or you can buy different accessories, all these different types of things that you can do to kind of play the game. So I think that's all I've got so far. If you want afterwards, I can basically transfer you over a card, like kind of like a very high experienced card. So if you want one, let me know. We used to actually hand out ether, basically like 0.01 ether, which is like equivalently to $10 or something like that. But we found that We probably could do. I can still transfer you Ether if you want one. But the thing is, like, people are like, "You're giving away free Ether? Like, what's going on?" You're like, "This is not real." Like, and people are like, "I've never seen this kind of thing anymore." So we don't do it. But if you want, I can transfer you the Ether if you want to get started into these things. Like, with what we found within the Ethereum network, there's a long way we have to go. And the more players we got in the realm, and the more people we have spreading the word, I think Ethereum and its network will grow larger and larger. So we do have a long way to go. But as you guys can see, there were only 2 people who actually had the Cypher browser or Trust Wallet. So, and you guys are sitting in a blockchain meeting. So we definitely have a long way to go. If you want, there's some tricks to like set that stuff up and actually get in on the blockchain and playing. But once you get in there, you'll notice that the blockchain it's not really that scary. You know, there are a lot of bad actors in there like doing these bad things, but there are a lot of other players who are in this that are doing good things. You know, you get to play games. This kind of thing is kind of like built for your children, you know, stuff like that, and built for your, you know, when you're sitting at work, kind of thing like that. So it's kind of something fun to do. Hopefully it kind of grows and as Ethereum kind of gets bigger and bigger. So thank you guys so much. If you take any questions for you guys?
Thanks. Questions?
Hi, great concept.
Oh, thank you so much.
I don't like talking into a mic.
And neither do I.
So, in terms of like tokens in this ecosystem, what would you categorize these cards as?
Yes, these ones are actually considered as ERC 721 coins. If you guys don't know what that is, an ERC basically means Ethereum request for comment. And the 721 is basically just a number that's given to it. They can just like say 721, 722, 723. It's just like the number that when they asked for these comments, a bunch of people responded with a bunch of stuff and said, hey, we've got this type of coin. Let's try to implement this type of contract. And so why this is important for being an ERC 721 coin is, say, for example, you know, if you go to Project Wyvern or Rarebits or OpenSea like this, they need to basically take your card and they need to integrate it into their system. If you have kind of like a, you know, if your integration kind of looks like this, but theirs looks like this, it probably won't fit too well. So it makes it easier for them to do that. And the ERC20 coin, which you kind of see like all the other IOC, you know, the ICOs and all these things, those are just basically a different set of contracts that, or methods that you basically have to implement when you build out the coin, that so that like an exchange can basically implement those kind of things like that. Oh, what was that?
The SEC won't come after you.
So that's kind of an interesting thing. And that's probably that's why actually why you see a lot of companies being established in the Cayman Islands and things like that, so that like when you do these things, you know, who's regulating it or can they come after you? It's hard to say. So that's why you do see that. You know, we hope to build something that, you know, the SEC, I don't know. It's hard to say. When they do regulate that, we'll cross that bridge hopefully. So we'll see.
Yeah, so I love your concept too. I come from the background of playing Magic the Gathering.
Nice.
So I'm wondering on the technical side though, the tokens of being your cards is really the only thing that's blockchains, right? So on the back end, all of this is done just on regular web, is that right?
Yeah, okay, so you're right. So basically when you buy the card is actually it basically has like a certain types of criteria. It has like the amount that it has, some certain features like what card it is. You can basically have like the description. Maybe you can embed the picture, and then you basically have your address that's for your wallet that belongs to you. And so when you purchase that card, all that kind of stuff gets written into the blockchain, and you basically have that card that's written for you. And so we have in the contracts, in the smart contracts, they essentially say that not even the developers or the people who created this game, which is myself, that can basically go in there and modify that stuff up. So once we've set the value, like, you know, is it a rare card? Is it like a less than rare? Then it kind of drives it from there.
But in terms of the gameplay
Yes.
around this, that's editable in the future, right?
That is correct. The gameplay is all editable and stuff like that, but it's a little different though, like some games that are out there like that are fully, this game is actually fully on the blockchain, which means that, you know, we rely on a lot of those kind of gas prices and stuff like that, so it is kind of on the blockchain. And the website is basically just kind of housing the cards and stuff like that.
Thanks so much, Steven.
Well, I'll answer your questions later.
So, we're going to have our first college student to speak at Decentralize. Come on up, Rennie.
Just put that in your pocket.
Okay, cool.
I don't know about you guys, but when I was a junior in college, I was worrying about popularity,
Yeah, we'll
making
throw that in
class
there.
on time, and
There you go.
getting grades to keep up myself on
I'm trying to
that.
grab this.
Rennie, on the other hand, has built out a platform that is seeking to bring metrics to coin value and essentially community sentiment. So I'll let him explain that in more detail.
Should I take one of the mics? Would that be helpful? There you go. Oh, is it showing up?
Looks like that's probably doing it.
Is that displaying? Are we good? You see it?
Detected.
Great.
Okay, cool.
Sure. What was it?
Like, if you ask a question, repeat it.
Okay, for sure.
There you go.
So you're not on the board yet?
Let's see. Still not showing up.
There it is.
All right, success. So yeah, I'm a student at CU Boulder, and I'm going into my junior year, and I'm working on a project right now with another student. And what we're looking into is this will be less about the product and more so the research that we've been doing. So with pretty much all cryptocurrencies right now, the value is very speculative. And a lot of what's driving these price fluctuations is based on the size of the community and then also the content that's within it. So that means the tweets that are within it, likes on Facebook, comments, and what we're doing is going into a sentiment analysis and then hopefully being able to find a price correlation with it. So what we're really looking into, the main channels are going to be Reddit and Twitter, which we believe to be the ones where most cryptocurrency traders are living right now, and that's where a lot of the influencers are as well. And so that's where a lot of that volume is coming from of activity within the community. And then taking things like the Twitter for taking the Twitter hashtags for a certain coin and then analyzing it and taking in a sentiment analysis. And so kind of how this came about was there's a few other tools out there that are trying to crunch all this different social data and make it into something usable. But a lot of it is mostly just for the research, and it's not being supplied towards traders. This is an example. This is from Rados, and what they're doing is sentiment analysis. And when you run just like an average sentiment analysis, you're going to find that most data is going to be neutral, and that's what we're seeing here is almost entirely neutral, and then some positive, and then some slightly negative. So being able to crunch that for traders is kind of our goal right now. Here's another one. So for GitHub, a good thing for projects is seeing like the health of it. It means a lot of contributions on GitHub, and that means a fair amount of commits and a fair amount of contributors. And this is from a service called Crypto Miso. And so number one right now is Komodo. So if you can see kind of that the commits are coming in waves. And so also part of the algorithm would be breaking down some projects aren't going to be committing every single day. They might set it in batches. And so including that in the algorithm and confirming that even though it is coming in batches, it still provides insight into a healthy community and contributors. So some of you might be familiar with CoinGecko, and you can see that they have a developer and community score, and they kind of just crunch it into one metric, and it's out of a percentage. So that's kind of unclear as to how that's usable. And through our research, we found that a lot of traders are just people who deal with crypto, not even for day trading, but also for DApps. They want to see something. If there's a custom metric, they want to know what it's made up out of. And so breaking that down, we found is really important. And for this, I mean, I really want it to be an open discussion too. So if anyone wants to
jump in and comment on anything, please feel free. So for a lot of coins, they take part in influencer marketing. So here, John McAfee, I'm sure you know him. He has around 800,000 followers on Twitter, and he has a very engaged Twitter following. So a lot of people are following through with what he's recommending. A lot of people are liking and commenting. So he gets paid around $105,000 per tweet that he puts out on a coin. And so not only will he be able to make money on someone like kind of shilling out their ICO, but he can also just know that ahead of time that more people will buy it. So a big mission for this project is understanding these trends and understanding that there might be more weight when it comes to someone being engaged with the coin. So an influencer like John McAfee will carry more weight when it comes to him posting on Twitter, because a lot of people, when they see his posts and they see that he's vouching for a coin, a lot of them will just go ahead and buy instead of start posting about it. So that's what a lot of sentiment analysis tools like Rados are going to miss out on, which is that weight that'll be added to bigger players. So for his trolls, I shill out shit coins. That's what he has as his description. Pretty open about it, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I mean that's another good example of just like what he's on. I mean, I wouldn't say he's entirely. I mean, he's still a smart guy. I mean, he's vouching for blockchain technology in the end, but at the same time, he's down to make some money on it. So there's no doubt he's buying up Bitcoin right now. So other tools that have done this for other assets, there's Buzz indexes, and they're more of like a hedge fund. And what they do is they do strictly sentiment analysis on stocks where sentiment and online communities has a big influence on how the price will change. And so they're more of like almost entirely a data science company, and they package these ETFs, which is just a collection of assets, in their case stocks, and they crunch all this different data from these different channels, and they are able to perform pretty well just off of sentiment analysis alone. So with cryptocurrency, this being even more influential, the size of communities and the activity within them, our hypothesis is that this similar model will be able to be even more effective for traders. So this is just kind of a UI that we're thinking about, because a lot of like these tools is that there's a lack of adoptability. And so by presenting it in a fashion that's more usable for traders and more straightforward, we hope that they will add more value to traders who want to use it, but also more equilibrium to the market, so they can see where pump and dumps are happening, because that's another thing that we want to pick up on. Is we're also very interested in the data science side. Both my co-founders work at AWS in data science. So being able to understand these waves, maybe not just in commits, but waves in when the price is like going way up, and correlating that with maybe when a group of influencers are posting it, because that could be a group of people coming together who are trying to push the price up and then ultimately dump it in a given period. So that's mostly what we're exploring, and I'd be open to any questions, any suggestions. But yeah, thank you guys, and thank you to Will for having me out.
So, sorry, is this, is your dashboard live, and is it like, how often does it update, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so the dashboard isn't up yet. We're hoping to have the MVP in the next 1 to 2 months. Our website is up right now. It's on actually the handout piece of paper. It's coinbyte.co, byte with a Y in it. But this is the dashboard that we're working on right now, and then also willing to iterate on, definitely. So any feedback is always welcome. Ooh.
And the end goal is subscription newsfeed for traders, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, it would be.
So, quick question I have is that when you're dealing with U.S. stocks, you're kind of in one geographical area, but by its nature, crypto is worldwide. So how do you guys plan on trying to address that? And maybe as a suggestion, if you haven't already looked at it, how are you going to analyze the different exchanges around the world to try to monitor what's going on in Korea when it comes to, sentiment and things like that? I mean, it's so unique in terms of its asset class that it's not in one area. So I don't know that Reddit and Twitter can handle worldwide type of influencing? Just a question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're also exploring other channels that may be more popular in other countries, and then maybe platforms that also cater to different types of traders. So that is a good question. But we also do see cryptocurrency as a borderless asset being an advantage for us, because we can analyze a lot of those traders do live in the same place, and they'll be interacting with it in the same place. So we think that it'll be easier to analyze.
Duke wanted to know which hackathon you guys launched this at.
Oh yes, so we worked on this at this We Want to See You Blockchain Summit. So that's where we worked on this. We kind of ideated on it a couple weeks before, and then we worked on it there, and that was 2.5 months ago or so.
You won it?
We did.
That's
awesome.
Are you going to use Telegram data?
Yeah, we really would like to. That's something that we started thinking about in the past few days. What's really easy about the channels that we're thinking about right now, like Reddit and Twitter, is that they have simple APIs to work with. But it would probably take like a custom tool to scrape that and then also analyze it. And if you have any suggestions on how to do that, I'd love to hear. Duke?
I'm just wondering, in the long run with AI, how hard it's going to be to amplify the manipulation, the ups and the downs, and how we're going to be able to trust all of this meaningful data.
Yeah, so the question is, how will AI play into how we'll be interpreting this this meaningful data? And so I don't know, are you talking about how we'd be incorporating AI and machine learning? Because that would be part of our sentiment analysis.
I'm talking about when you're using Twitter and Reddit, so does Blue. Lots of people use it. AI is just going to amplify the bullshit. So
Oh, yeah.
How do you defend yourself against that?
So like fake users who are influencing the content. Yes, that's something that we haven't thought about right now, but that is a really good point, because you're going to have people who aren't just putting out the coins that they want the price to go up that they've already bought a shit ton of, but you're going to have people who are writing bots who will be adding more content, more positive sentiment into a community. And I think that will depend on how big a platform like this becomes for traders. Because if a lot of coins see a platform like this being useful, then we could see them doing that for sure. And that's something we should take into consideration for the future. It's a great question.
Bots still work, they still hit targets, so it's still valid data. Because everyone else, real people are still consuming it, so it still has market value.
You're saying like people are still being influenced just by like what bots are posting online? Yeah, that's something that's good to keep in mind, definitely.
Thank you. Cool, we're going to have to cut them off there, and
Thank you, everybody.
feel free to hit them up with questions afterwards. All right, up next is Mickey with an intro to crypto economics for all of us.
In your pocket?
Yeah. Sweet. Thank you. Sweet. Oops. This guy. How's it going, guys? I'm not used to talking into a mic, so I feel your pain. Seriously. And this is probably one of the bigger crowds that I've talked to, for sure. I need to hold it closer. All right, so all right, introduction to crypto economics. So I've been in this space for, I don't know, a little bit over a year now. And one of the things that I've noticed is that we constantly tend to lose sight of why blockchains and Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these other blockchains are really coming into existence. I think our first speaker said it, Lambos and Moon. That's what we hear a lot of. And like, so yeah, hence the introduction to crypto economics. So it's a super high level idea of what of why cryptocurrencies even exist, and why it's so transformational when it comes to like a ton of different aspects in society. So I've been trying to put this slide together for the past week. It's been something that's interested me. I don't know, for a while, just politics and economics in general. And I slapped this thing together. I don't even know if it's that organized. So we'll try and get through it. And I'd like it to be just like the last speaker did. And that's an open discussion. So if anything comes up, feel free, shout something out. Let's all break the ice. What's that? All right, sorry. All right, I'll try and remember that. So, what's that? Put it on my chin. Hey, girlies. All right, so what is economics in general? So, I think this is fundamental, just because we have to take a look at the systems that are in place today. So I pulled these, real simple, Googled Wikipedia. So economics, as far as Wikipedia is concerned, is a social science that studies the production, the distribution, and the consumptions of goods and services. And I mean, it's super simple. So then I pulled another definition here, and we say, or the American Economic Association says that it's a study of scarcity, how people use resources and respond to incentives, or the study of decision making. So that is economics. So this is a tweet that I posted a couple weeks ago, and I really so I started building a passion on why cryptos even exist, and we cannot lose sight of that. I can't emphasize enough that we can't lose sight of why these things even exist in the first place. So basic economic functions are siloed into the hands of governments, institutions, and corporations. Blockchain fundamentally changes how 7.5 billion people can cooperate in a global economy with zero centrally controlled mechanisms. So we live in a first world country. That's the reality of the situation, at least here where we're at. We cannot forget that at least half the population of the globe is not connected when it comes to commerce. And all of these things, right? That crypto is trying to, or blockchain is trying to solve, get people into the financial, or rather, get people really essentially have people set up get people set up with their own banks. Just be a part of the entire commerce and the trade of commodities and all of these things, right? And services. So. Legacy economic systems are failing to scale. That's what's going on. These things are failing to scale on many different fronts, and we'll just go through a couple of things. Who's familiar with the Dunbar number? Sweet, yeah. So the Dunbar number is defined as a maximum number of people who can be in a community, and why this thing is pretty cool and kind of ties into all of these things is. So we intimately, in the Dunbar number is 150, right? So we can have a stable relationship with, and this is like evolutionary psychology, and it could be refuted and debated or whatever. That's fine, but it at least makes sense for today, right? So it's 150 people. We could have stable relationships with 150 people. They're meaningful relationships. When we talk about the Dunbar number, technologies like the internet and just telecommunications, all of these things have connected us with other people around the globe, right? We can now have conversations with people around the globe. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that blockchain takes that even a step further. The idea is to be an inclusive type of, or create an inclusive type of economic system that brings all of these people in, because we lack talent on a ton of different, maybe not lack talent, maybe that's a wrong way of wording it, but there's tons of untapped talent, right, in the world. So business as usual isn't pushing to increase this number. They're interested in, governments are interested in maintaining control. Corporations are interested in maintaining profit margins or profits. Or what else? Institutions would fall in either corporations or government together. It depends. So they're okay with the status quo. They're okay with business as usual. Nothing crazy. Why the Dunbar number is essential is we need to think about how we could exceed that limit of 150 intimate relationships when it comes to just expanding society. So legacy systems fail to scale to 7.5 billion people. We've been through that. Compartmentalization, it stunts innovation. That's what we see going on. That's why decentralization has been an incredible innovation is late. So compartmentalization is just the inverse of. So it stunts innovation. Centralized institutions trusted, and we know this. Like, I don't know. We could use tons of examples. I don't know if you guys have any examples. Facebook, yeah, exactly. All of our data, or Equifax, the Equifax hack, right? We trust these people, or have, and we've been complacent trusting these people to, maintain control of a ton of data points that they pull on us, and we're okay with that. But until something happens, that's when we realize that it's an incredible problem. But more and more, we see that these institutions or companies or whatever aren't being trusted, which is a good thing. I think that's we're evolving. And then obviously the top-down power structure. Information always flows up to the top. Decisions always come from the top down. And people up at the top are not connected where the work is being done at the bottom and don't understand the repercussions of the decisions that they're making. So simple stuff. That's legacy economic systems are failing to scale. Let's move on. I found this badass quote. And I've been listening to tons of lectures and other people talk about crypto economics, and this popped up in one of the slides, and I thought it was fantastic. So Mike Golden is actually a software developer with Consensus. And here he says, blockchains give us programmable money. When you have programmable money, you can program incentives. And when you can program incentives, you can program people. And I know that sounds, a little scary, kind of creepy, but we'll get into why it's important. So things to consider with this entire space. One thing that I see a lot of, and I had to change the verbiage that I had in here. I had computer scientists and technologists disregard the economic values of building such systems. So I had to put some, because it's not really all computer scientists or technologists. These guys are narrowly focused on mathematics and coming out with a particular result. That's it. Sometimes they negate what economics is trying to do. So conversely, some economists and social engineers disregard the cryptographic and mathematical approaches which help facilitate these results, or your desired results. So, and we'll get into this a little bit more, here shortly, soon. Am I over? Devastating. Can I keep going? Sweet. All right, I'll be quick. But now we have the tools that corporations and institutions, they don't quite understand yet. We're barely beginning to understand these things, and we're at the front line of innovating and creating new technologies. We understand these things more than corporations, institutions do. So here's a quick definition of what I put together, and I would love some feedback if you guys have any, or think that this is a shitty description or a definition of what crypto economics is. But I put an interdisciplinary practice that uses applied cryptography and to program economic incentives in distributed networks and systems. Here are a couple, we could break this down a little bit. Economic mechanisms are guaranteed via cryptography. Important properties of the network are guaranteed via financial incentives. Influencing good human behavior and interactions. So that ties back into programming people. What we want to do is incentivize good behavior, not bad actors. We want to create systems where bad actors, it's completely economically infeasible for them to do something, or wouldn't even make sense for them to think of something like that, right? So it's easy to predict mathematical outcomes and expected results. Super easy to theorize things, right? Write it down on paper, you end up with a result. Great. Now it's really, really hard to predict outcomes in the real world with real world interactions. That's why the whole sentiment analysis was beautiful. Like we cannot predict the entropy of what the hell is going on in society. It's incredible. Let's see. And one of the things we want to do with this entire crypto economics is bring as much value as possible to all participants. And I know the first speaker also touched on that. So crypto economics isn't going anywhere. It's here to stay for sure. And I think, and this is just my idea, my thinking. You can't kill an idea, or what I believe to be a new body of knowledge that is producing and will continue to produce incredible things. Think of it as a new science. So this pulls in. We need to experiment, understand what we're doing, experiment with blockchains, understand how we're connecting all these things together, document it, build, and then deliver. And I have here morality. Always put morality first and rules second. And I got that from Andreas Antonopoulos, if you guys know who Andreas is. And that just means like be bold in what we're doing with all of these things. Some laws or whatever that are put in place really or they just don't make sense. Don't be afraid to step over those things. Right on.
Thanks a lot, Mickey.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I think for the sake of time, we're going to forego the Q&A.
How dare you? No worries, man.
If you guys are looking to follow someone on Twitter that has a way with words, what's your handle on Twitter? I guess we'll have it on the
M San Miguel 16. At M San Miguel 16.
As a community manager for my company, I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I enjoy
right on.
literally a lot of your tweets.
Nice, thank you.
That you're ruminating about the crypto sphere. So thanks for your thoughts on that.
Right on, thank you guys.
All right, last but not least, we got
Okay,
Willa,
thanks,
who's going to wax poetic on mesh networks. There we go, namely proof of location. All right, thanks, Will.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming out. This is a concept that I came onto about 6 months ago around Thanksgiving. And we're going to start with a simple idea. What would happen if you could have undeniable proof that something was at a physical location at a specific time? What could you do with that kind of a thing? There's a lot. And you can probably tell that when I say undeniable, we're talking about blockchain. So let's look at a picture. You can see here that this is a mesh network. This picture is still in blatant foam space, which is one of the projects that I'll talk about. But what you're seeing here is a map of New York City. Every dot is a node on a mesh network. The community owns the nodes. Individuals own the node. And you can see that what we're looking at here is kind of a decentralized Uber. So that little dot going through New York, downtown Manhattan is running across other nodes. And the idea is when it runs across the node, and one of those runs across 3, it creates a triangulation, and now we know exactly where that dot is. And if you own one of those nodes, you're going to get paid a little micropayment for being part of that decentralized Uber. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, this is a great idea. And it's a mesh network too. So that's the idea, that's the basic idea. So what are these little things that are these nodes, what do they look like? Well, I don't really know yet, but you can see over here on the left we have, oops, sorry. Up in the top left you have a LoRa network, which is what Foam is talking about. You can see how the guy's putting it in a telephone pole there, some kind of pole. You can see the size of it here is the size of a coin. And this one on the bottom right is another project called Helium. I don't know. I mean, I do geocaching and then we put things out in the world, but things like this, it might be a little bit hard, especially in America. So I'm still have questions about what the hardware is going to look like and how it's going to be placed in the world and how that's going to work in a legal way. But the coolest thing about this technologies is the use cases. And I'm going to go through 3 of them. There are a lot of them, and these are my favorites. The first one is augmented reality. And I don't know if this is clear, but you guys have probably played Pokemon Go or know about what it is. Basically, it's something virtual on top of the real world. And imagine that you could tie a money reward or a crypto reward to finding a certain character. Or in the pictures below that I'm illustrating is like, let's say we're racing towards a certain destination in the skyline, and when the first one that gets there gets a money reward. This kind of flows into, I did a project at ETH Denver called ETH Fitness. And what's happening here is we have a race. And one guy's in Denver with a buffercorn, you might recognize him. We have the unicorn in the middle, he's in Chicago. And then we have the Ethereum logo, and they're in New York City. They're all racing, and time has shifted. And what the idea was that if these racers threw some ether in a pot, and then the person who wins the pot wins the race. That was our ETH Denver project. It's based on proof of location, basically. We're going to use that technology to figure out who wins the race. So that's one aspect, kind of AR, kind of morphed into sort of a fitness idea. The other big one that I really like is the Internet of Things, and it powers the Internet of Things. This is a simple example. Let's say you had a drone, and its job was to fly every day. It flies back home, and it gets paid. So not just a drone, but any IoT device that can do something, obviously it's got to get paid through crypto. That's going to be the way it's going to do. That's going to be the way it's going to happen in the future, in my view. And if we have to prove that the robot went somewhere, then proof of location is going to be part of the equation. Another example that I really like is data collection. I love data collection. I love crypto data, but this is about nature data. So there's an idea of this thing called a BioBlitz. I recommend you check it out if you like nature. Basically what you do is you go out into a certain section of nature and you identify plants, animals, as many organisms as you can. And you basically take pictures of them with your phone. Now the way it works now is totally free, but it could be incentivized so that we send out our community members to check on the status of natural world. So let's talk about the projects. I mentioned phones, and there are probably some more. So after this, if I missed any and you guys know any, let me kind of blow through these and what they are and what I think of them. I like to start out with this one because this is a true mesh network. This is based on a Wi-Fi network, and you can kind of see on this map how it's grown. It started in 2004. So this network is based on Wi-Fi, which is different than some of the others that I'll mention. So it's not really it doesn't have any connection to blockchain, but the idea was that these people didn't have good Wi-Fi, and they grew a community network. And there's over 34,000 nodes now, and this is in Spain. So great example of a community network. Foam is this project that I've been looking at, and their tagline is the future of proof of location. Things to note about them is Ethereum based, at least to start. I did hear in one technical talk that they were going to be blockchain agnostic in the future. We shall see. They have multiple incentive models, not just how I described. There's like lots of different ways you can make money with your nodes. It's a true mesh network. It's decentralized. It's free. The main question I have about Foam is the hardware, because I read the white paper that came out, I think, 2 weeks ago, and they're still trying to decide. So it's LoRa and LoRaWAN, and that's their idea. XYO Network is a competitor. I met these guys at ETH Denver, and they are targeting multiple blockchains, and they are not going to use a mesh network. Like, they're not going to use nodes like this. They're going to use it on the existing phone network, I guess, or the existing network. They have been doing a lot of aggressive ICO advertising, and I read their white paper, and I still really didn't understand how it would work. But that's my perspective. Definitely check it out. Helium. This is probably the one I'm most interested in. This is coming from an IoT perspective, and if you read what they say, provides methods to incentivize anyone to participate in building a mesh network. So they're building a mesh network, they're incentivizing people to do it, and they got a blockchain connected to it. Another thing that's cool that I learned today was Sean Fanning of that. They're funded by Google Ventures, and they're talking about a scalable open source solution. I don't know what I'm not sure what the platform blockchain it is, but that's definitely one that I'm interested in. This one's interesting. This is an Althea network, and I'll give this a shot. Bad. Sorry. I won't try to play that video. The point of that one is that they are basically, these guys are working on they have a blockchain too, and this video that if you go to the Althea network, the video there is pretty cool because it has a bunch of Raspberry Pi crypto enabled, and they're sort of like paying each other for bandwidth. So excellent video to check out. I haven't been timing myself, so I could be 5 minutes, I could be 10, I don't know. But that's the end of my thing. So if you have any questions, please shoot them out, and I will try to answer them.
So, funny anecdote, when Will and I first met, he's telling me all about the phone network, and I'm not technical, I'm trying to keep along, and he's like, well, I can register you for a node. Well, I live at 8th in Pennsylvania, which is one of the main veins in the central part of town. He's like, I registered this for you, and I thought I was going to become a proof of location millionaire with all these Ubers driving past in the future, and me verifying their locations. And then he told me it was just on testnet. So maybe one day, maybe one day.
It is on the testnet, but you can see by that map there that that's Colorado, and those are all the points that I put out on their testnet. Basically, I planted them all over Denver and Boulder.
So that'd be right there in the middle.
And one of them is Trevor's fake node. I mean, I don't know how it's going to work in the real world, because you're going to have to put a real thing out in the real world. But if you want to go to their testnet, you can put some points out. This is kind of a picture. This is a picture of Washington D.C. This map behind there you can't really see, but that will give you an idea of how many like fake nodes they have on their testnet right now, and they're all around in all the big cities. So,
how do you see this translating to the narrowband IoT spectrum and 5G?
I don't know what that is, but I'd like to know.
Narrowband IoT spectrum is very similar to LoRa.
Yeah,
there would be devices on that.
As I looked further into LoRa, it seemed like more of a centralized. The question was about narrowband alternative in comparison to LoRaWAN, which is what Foam uses. And I would definitely like to see them go towards a less centralized solution. There is a foundation behind LoRa, but I think there's only a single manufacturer, and there's some other questions about it. So on the centralization front, I'm a little bit skeptical about it.
Anyone else? All right, thanks a lot, Will.
All right.
For your presentation. All right, that's gonna do it for tonight. Thanks so much for everyone for coming out, everyone. We got this place for about 20 more minutes, but feel free to hang out.
So please do that. Keep your interest up. Thank you very much.